On March 10th, Syrian President Ahmed al-Shara and SDF commander Mazloum Abdi signed an 8-point agreement to begin integrating institutions of the Kurdish-led autonomous administration. But this agreement goes beyond administrative coordination. It opens a deeper question. Will Syria reassert itself as a centralized state or move toward a more decentralized or federal model?
الفيدرالية أو الحوكمة اللامركزية قد تشكل خيارا جذابا لمستقبل سوريا وفق رؤية بعض القوى السياسية والتنظيمات، خصوصا في المناطق المتنوعة مثل شمال الشرق الذي تسيطر عليه قسد، لكنها بطبيعة الحال ليست خالية من التحديات التي نراها حتمية.
The Syrian government sees full reintegration as essential for restoring state sovereignty and national unity. Damascus rejects any form of decentralization, viewing it as a direct threat to the coherence of the state. Officials argued that allowing autonomous governance or independent armed structures would create parallel authorities, weaken central control, and risk long-term fragmentation. For the government, all armed forces must be unified under a single command, and governance across the country must follow one legal and institutional framework. But the SDF sees things very differently.
So basically what I think what the SDF is, they want to keep some form of SDF control, that they keep their own command and control, so that it will be part of the Syrian Defense Ministry, but they can still make appointments, who's the commander, etc., in their areas that they control. So I think they want to keep some form of autonomous system with like their own local government. But then you also have the question of what you're going to do with the Arab majority areas, because the Northeast is not just a Kurdish.
Implementation began quickly. By April, pro-government forces had taken over the Tishrin Dam and started assuming responsibilities in part of Aleppo. In May, a joint mechanism was launched to repatriate Syrians from the Al-Hol camp, with the first batch arriving to Al-Bab city on June 15th. Still, tensions over control persist. On June 22nd, the Autonomous Administration announced a new general administration for Kamishli Airport. In response, Syria's Civil Aviation Authority declared the airport closed, asserting that only Damascus holds legal authority. Similar disputes are playing out on the military front. The SDF wants to join the Syrian army as a unified force, while Damascus demands individual enlistment and chain of command loyalty to the state. Recruitment and training by the SDF are still ongoing, highlighting the unresolved status of their forces.
حقيقة هناك بعض التحديات، الحكومة منفتحة على الحوار، الحكومة تتفاوض بمرونة مع مطالب قوات سوريا الديمقراطية وتحاول الوصول إلى شكل نهائي تحافظ فيه على هذا التوازن الدقيق ما بين الإصلاح السياسي والحفاظ على السيادة الوطنية.
Regional players are also watching. Turkey has condemned delays and views any Kurdish autonomy as a threat. Meanwhile, the United States has announced a withdrawal from most of its bases in Syria, maintaining only its presence at Al-Tanf near the Jordanian border, a base that has no connection to the SDF and operates independently of the Kurdish-led areas. US officials have reportedly urged the SDF to move forward with integration, pushing them to avoid delays and accept a negotiated settlement. Reflecting this shift, on June 25th, Vice Admiral Brad Cooper said Syria's security translates into US security, signaling growing US support for a stable central authority in Damascus. Analysts say many foreign governments would likely support a pragmatic compromise, one that preserves state sovereignty without fully dismantling local administration.
And most of the foreign states like France, Germany, and other states, they also support the integration of the SDF. So if they find some way of an integration that you have like some form of decentralized governments, but for instance, the Syrian state control the border and the airport and the oil and the gas fields, or they find, for instance, some way to find a joint control, I don't think there will be a big risk to sovereignty. Because there's not states that, for instance, want to use the SDF to undermine Damascus.
Still, such a compromise remains hypothetical. The Syrian government continues to insist on full centralized control, with full integration plans by the end of 2025. The outcome of this process will define the structure of the Syrian state. A return to centralism or the start of federal transformation